Hello, everyone. Welcome to Tuesday Night Live with independent Stampin' Up! Demonstrator Teresa Harper. I'm located in Oregon, in the U.S. Thanks so much for joining me. I appreciate you. I'm not sure that wasn't better without the light, actually. Okay, let's see. Maybe now. There we go. Okay. So let's go ahead and give everybody a minute to find us, including myself. All right. Let's make sure we turn the sound off so you guys don't get an echo. All right, there we go. Great. Oh, here we are. So today is Tuesday, June 1st, or June 2nd, right? Yeah, it's June 2nd. And the new June product of the month is now available, and it is the Wild Bunch stamp set. So this cute little 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, looks like 13-piece set is available now for only $5 when you spend $75 or more in a single order. There is a strict limit of 1 per customer. So there is that, and it is so cute. I ordered mine first thing, and it shipped today, so hopefully I will have it for you by next Tuesday. All right, so we've got that. And then the Shaded Petals kit. There were 2 new kits released today in the kits collection. One is Shaded Petals, and this is an example of some of the cards that you can make. And then there is the Wishes or Washes of Gratitude kit. So that's a bunch of watercolor washes, it looks like, and some floral images. That too you can find in the kits collection in my online store. And those are available beginning today. All right. So we have, I have 2 cards for you today. One is a graduation card, in case you still need to make some graduation cards. I did, and so I like to personalize them. Hello, Lynette. And so we've got Sweet Bugs that we're going to use. This is a bundle, and we're using the mushroom images from this, along with the ladybug who's reading and the bumblebee. And then we're using Fern and Flora to go along with it. Okay, I've got a couple of other things that we're going to be using. And one of those is a very early sneak peek of the Framed Violets bundle. This is going to be available in the July online exclusives. And I'm not using the stamp set. I'm only using the dies. And we're going to use this large scalloped oval. Okay. So that's what we're using from that set. And then my sentiment is coming from Sending Salutations. All right. It's because nothing was, nothing that I wanted to make my card with was in the Sweet Bugs or the Fern and Flora. So I just looked through my stash, found what I had, and got an appropriate. You never have to stick with the sentiments in your stamp set. Okay, so for this particular card, we're using Crumb Cake, Secret Seam, Misty Moonlight, Peaceful Pine, and Golden Glow. That is our color combo. Our embellishments are the Dewdrop embellishments. These are from the Fern and Flora suite in the current catalog. we're going to use a small piece of Designer Series paper, and this is the Mixed Up Patterns. And this was a carryover from the January to April catalog. And so we're going to be using this pattern right here, which is white with some bubble bath polka dots on it in kind of a grid pattern. And then this is the back side. These are the other patterns that are in that. Some random patterns that don't necessarily go with any particular suite, which makes it kind of nice because then you're not stuck in any color palette. You pick and choose what you want. I'm becoming a big fan of that. Okay, so those are the patterns. That does come in 12 by 12. And then we're going to be using a lot of two-tone paper. But I've done a lot of the die cutting already, just to save us some time. Okay. So let's go ahead and do our stamping. And let's see if I was smart and cut myself a piece of basic white. No, I was not. That's okay. We do have a piece of basic white with the scallop die from the Framed Violets coming in the July online exclusives. I have a piece of two-tone Peaceful Pine cardstock. I'm using the dark side, and this is cut at 4 by 5 1/4. And I have embossed that with the Fern and Flora 3D embossing folder. Okay. And this is what that folder looks like. It's pretty thick. Pattern is pretty large. But it works well to cut down. So that's what we've done. All right. And then we've got a card base in Golden Glow, and this is 4 1/4 by 11, and I've scored it at 5 1/2. We're doing a landscape card. This is going to be our layer, but we can't put this down yet because we need to give this a ribbon treatment. Okay, and we also need to do some other things. So we're going to start with our stamping and our ink blending. Let me grab some basic white cardstock here. We're going to get Memento Tuxedo Black as our ink. And we're going to stamp our little ladybug. And our bumblebee. Okay. And I think that's it for now. So let's go ahead and set that aside. While that ink is drying, let's do our ink treatment on here. We're going to start with some crumb cake. And where did I put I thought I had all of those. Yep, I do, right here. Oh, really easy to find. So we've got a little bit of crumb cake. And I'm going to put this on the bottom. Like so. Okay. And then we're going to go to Golden Glow. Whoops. My ink pads, my magnetic ink pads are sticking together here. So we've got our crumb cake. Now let's get our Golden Glow. And we're going to just put a layer of that above the crumb cake and kind of into that a little bit. And then we're going with Misty Moonlight. Man, my throat is bugging me. So let's grab our Misty Moonlight. I'm going to put some Misty Moonlight up here. I'm going to cover this whole section. Let's now white. Okay, and then from there, we're going to take a little bit of Secret Sea. And I'm going to go around the edge of that just to kind of darken up the top part. Okay. And there we go. Now let's go ahead and clean our board here. Our gloss mat. We don't want that ink everywhere. And trust me, if it's going to get somewhere, it's going to get all over my hands. Okay, so we've got that now. Let's go ahead and color our bees. Just want to make sure that's good and dry. Okay, there we go. Let's bring in our, I'm going to get these out of the way. Let's get our ink pants out of the way for the moment. And we will bring in our Stampin' Blends. Oh, that one decided to go for a roll. Okay, so this is what we're going to be using. I'm going to do the ladybug's face in light gray granite, so it doesn't get too dark. And I'm going to do the same thing for our bumblebee. And then we're going to do dark petal pink for our ladybug here. And then we're going to go back with some crisp candle or some Barely Blush here. Wait a minute, I think I did the crisp cantaloupe first. That's what I did to get my color. We're going to see here in a minute. Yep, there we go. And then to tone that down just a little bit and give it some shine, I'm going to use my shimmer pen, my Barely Blush. I'm going to go over the top of that. And there we go. Okay. Now we'll take our dark smoky slate. I'm going to add in the shadows for the ladybug's belly. And then we'll take the light smoky slate and we'll finish that up. Okay. And then for our bee, we're going to go with Golden Glow Light. And I'm going to color all of this on his body. And then we're going to go back with the Golden Glow Dark. I'm going to add in just a little bit on the belly there. And then go back and touch that up with our light. Okay, and then finally for the wings on our bee, we're going to take our Wink of Stella and put some shimmer on those wings. Okay, oops, we forgot to do our book. We're going to do the book in dark cloud cover and light cloud cover. So I'm just going to put in some shadow here, a bit there, and then I'll go back and color that in with the light. Okay, and there are our little critters that we need. Okay, let's go ahead and set that aside. Now, the Sweet Bugs bundle comes with coordinating dies. So we're just gonna put those in, line those up really well, making sure that our antennas show through the little holes. Okay, and when we run that through, then oh shoot, I did those and didn't color them. I die cut them and didn't color them. Oops. Okay, well, I should have done it the other way, but you know what? We're just going to do this. We'll just run this through the mini. Excuse me, so I don't have to color them again. It's just as easy to run them through. So that's what we'll do. Let's grab these. I'll line up those antennas. That antenna right there in the hole, and then pivot that so that it's just right. Oh man, all of my tape ran away. I put all this tape on my counter, and then I slowly walk it away to the big die cutting machine. And it's not where I need it when I want it. Okay, so we've got that. Sorry about that. I guess I should have checked my die cuts. I was trying to be a little more efficient. Okay, well, there we go. Let's bring in the mini machine. We'll get base plate 1. Acrylic plate number 2, our paper and die, and then we want to make this a little E shape. So the top plate and the bottom plate are a little further forward than the center plate. And then it'll go right through the machine nice and easy. Okay. All right, so we've got those now, and they're ready to go. Except that I don't like the space between the feet there. So I'm going to take my scissors in here, and I'm just going to fussy cut that out a bit, just so I don't have all that extra white space there. Just like that. Okay, I'll do the same thing with my flying bee here. Now, of course, you don't have to do this. I just like the way it looks a little bit better. So there we go. All right. So that is our stamping. Now let's bring in some pieces, and I'll show you what I've already die cut from Fern Flora. These are on two-tone Peaceful Pine cardstock. So I've got one on the dark side, one on the light side. I've cut this branch, or that fern, the fiddleback fern, and I've got one in each color. We'll see what we're going to use. And then I've done one of these in a dark, and this is another one on the light side. Okay. Then from the Sweet Bugs, I've cut 4 mushrooms, 2 small and 2 large. And I have an extra for the inside. And then I also cut 1 small and 1 large out of that piece of Designer Series paper. Okay, but I only needed the top parts, so that's why you see that. And then I've done the same thing. Oh, here's another piece from Fern Flora. On Berry Burst cardstock, and I've done it on the light side, I've got a large and a small. We're going to do some paper piecing. And then these little pieces here are from Fern Flora. And we're going to make some flowers. And those were cut with, the white pieces were cut with this die. And then this little teeny tiny die here, I cut in Berry Burst. And that's the little flower centers for those. And here's those other pieces from the Fern Flora that we cut. Okay? So we've got all those pieces. Hello, Cynthia. Hello, Irene. Hello, Jen. Thank you. Irene, you are so welcome. Thanks, everybody, for joining me. I appreciate you. And look, I didn't have to auto-populate. Yay! Okay, so we've got all these things. Let's go ahead. We're going to set these aside. And these pieces aside. And those. And our little shrooms. And we're going to work on these. So we're going to bring in crumb cake. No, we're not. I need Golden Glow. I have to try and remember what I did. Right? Okay, so we need Golden Glow. And we need the Golden Glow brush. Blending brush. And I'm going to start on these two. And I'm just going to take and run some Golden Glow clear across. I don't want it to get too dark. Okay, and then I'm going to darken it up at the top by running my blending brush right at the edge of those shrooms. Okay, until I'm happy with how that looks. This is what I like about the Glass Mat Studio. I can just put my ink down and then reuse what I already have there. And we're going to put a little bit more at the top here. Okay, I'm happy with that. Now I'm going to bring in my Berry Burst. And I'm going to do the same thing here. I'm going to run my Golden Glow over the whole thing. And then we're going to go back and ink up just the top of that shroom. Okay. Just so it's not quite so bright with the Berry Burst. I still wanted the color, I just didn't want it to be quite so bright. So there we go, that's how we make those. And then again, we're going to bring in our chamois that comes with the Glass Mat Studio. Clean that all up. And then we'll put our shrooms together. Oops, I got a bit of ink here. Okay, so there we go. So we're just going to take and trim these off. Just like so. Just a little snip of the scissor. All right, got those. And then we will bring back in our shrooms here. Take a little bit of liquid glue. And we'll add that to the top. So we have a crumb cake stem and our beautiful cap. Just gives the mushrooms a little bit of added texture and character. So they're not quite so plain. There we go. All right. So now let's bring in our florals, our little flowers, and we'll put these together. Now, I cut way more centers than I need. So we're going to go ahead and lay these out. I'm going to grab my silicone mat here. And we've got, whoops. We'll just lay them out the way they need to go. So if I can get a hold of them. These two go together. Now remember that one die cuts all 6 white pieces at the same time. So you don't have to just keep cutting. Okay, so as you can see, there's 2 smaller ones and 2 larger ones. Those go together. So all I'm going to do here is I'm going to take a little bit of liquid glue. I'm going to put in the center of the bigger part. Then I'm going to take my Take Your Pick tool and I'm going to turn this and cross them. Give that a little push. Now, if you have time, you could sit here and wait for that glue, that liquid glue, to dry for just a minute so that it doesn't do any oozing. For this one, though, I'm going to take and I'm going to put a little bit of liquid glue here. And then I'm going to go pick up this piece from the Berry Burst, the one that looks kind of like a little tulip. And I'm going to put that one down there in that dot of glue. Kind of like that. That's going to be our flower center. And then I'll add another little dot of glue. And then I'm going to add a dot of glue here and a dot of glue there. And it doesn't need to be much. If you can see it, it's enough. Okay, so now I'm going to take and put this piece on there. And that will just let that flower center stick out a bit. And then we'll pick up another one of these darker. Okay, where's my darks? Where'd they go? It must be on their backs here. Oops. Okay, so we've got that one, and we've got this one, because I wanted the darker color, the darker side. But silly me, I cut the lighter side twice. So these are 2 sizes of center. This one's a little bit bigger for the big, whoops. This one's a little bit bigger for the bigger flower over here. And this one's a little bit smaller for the smaller flower. Okay. So now I'll just take the tip of my Take Your Pick tool, give those a good press, and those are now ready. And I'll set all these aside. All right. We are ready to start combining everything on our card. So let's push all these aside. And let's bring in our scallop. Okay, what'd I do with it? Oh man, are you kidding me? Oh, there it is, I buried it. Here we are. Okay. So for this now, we're just gonna take and start combining everything. Let's start laying it out. We'll put it down. So I'm going to do this, and then I'm going to take the darker one that's the same, but I want this one to be shorter. So what I'm going to do with this one is I'm just going to trim this off right there. And then this one will go in here like so. And then we'll take one of these in the lighter color. And I think at this point, let's start putting this down. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to run a piece of liquid glue. Now you could use the adhesive sheets on this, but part of this is going to stick off of that scallop. and so I don't want to go all the way to the top. So that's all I've done, just putting a few down. And then I'm going to put this kind of like this. And it's going to hang off just a little bit. That's okay. We'll trim it. And then we're going to do the same thing here. Just a little bit of glue. This one's not going to hang off though, so we can go a little bit higher on that one. Put this in here kind of like that. And I didn't put glue out to the edges because we're going to add some shrooms in here. So let's go ahead and let's take our large lady here. And I'm going to put this down in here, kind of like that. So let's get our shroom in here. And I'm just going to stick that down in there. Kind of like that. Okay. And then we'll take this little shroom and I'm going to put this one down here. And I notice how I'm not putting anything on the cap of the mushroom. I'm just putting my glue on the stem. So we're going to do that. And then we're going to bring this in. And again, I'm going to try to stick to the center here. And we're going to put that like that. And then we'll take some more glue on the stem of our mushroom. And I'm going to put that one down here. Kind of like that. No, let's go a little bit more like this. There we go. Okay. And then we have one more shroom. So let's get this. I'll stick this one down in here, kind of like that. And then we need this piece, but we need the darker one. I want this darker one. And we're going to take, which I should have already done, and add a little bit of glue to the tips of these. And this is where we're going to put our flowers. So I'm going to put the half a flower here, the larger open flower down here, and the smaller flower up here on the top. Okay. Now we're going to bring in our dimensionals. And I'm going to take a dimensional and I'm just going to stick it underneath the cap of my mushroom. Now that I know where I can put them. And then we're going to go with minis on the smaller ones. Okay. And then we'll need to remove those backings when we totally are set here and we're happy with that. Okay, so this is where we're going to put this. So let's go ahead think we're okay with this. I'm going to go ahead and put this down. Just remove that backing. Move that mushroom over how I want it. Pull off that backing. And that backing. And that backing. And then we're going to put minis on the back of this. This is how we're going to make sure that we hold everything together. That's a pretty small little gluing area for the florals. So we'll just put those on. Take off our backing pieces. Add a little bit of glue at the bottom. And then we're going to stick this in here. Okay. Now, before we get too much further, we're going to go ahead and flip this over. And I'm going to trim these pieces off. It's because I don't want them sticking out below the bottom. So there we go. Now, I know you're wondering what we're going to do with our critters. So what we're going to do with this reading one, we're going to take a dimensional, let's stick that right on Ladybug's head. I'm going to put a little bit of glue on her bottom here. And then she's going to sit right here reading a book. And yes, that glue dot or that dimensional is sticking off, but that's okay because I want it to stick to the card. So let's get that. And then we'll get our bee. And our little bee is going to go right here. So we've got to figure out right here, we need to put a little mini on the wings. On the bottom side of the wings there. I'm going to put this like here. And I think I can put a little dimensional here. And I might want to lift that up just a bit. Okay. And then we'll go ahead and take those off. Add just a little bit of glue here. And put that down. Okay. So there's our little scene. What do you think? Okay. So now we just need to finish up the rest of the card. So let's bring back in our Peaceful Pine embossed piece. And let's grab our sanding block. This is just a nail file. A nail buffing thing. And I'm just going to rough this up a bit. And I don't need to really worry about the middle, because that's going to be covered. Okay? So we've got that. And then we can add our ribbon treatment here. So we're going to take some Golden Glow ribbon. And we're going to bring back in our card base here. And I'm just going to set this down like this. We're going to place this here. And then we're going to take a look at about where we want that. So about like that. I'm going to flip that over. Get some tear and tape and run it along the edges here. Where that ribbon is. And then I'm going to grab 2 more pieces to put on the top while I'm at it. And then we'll peel this backing off here. Loop over our ribbon. I'm going to pull this backing. And then I'm going to flip this over. Make sure my ribbon is straight. And then I'll press that into the tear and tape. Give that a snip. And then we'll add the tear and tape on top to secure that. Okay? So we've got that so far. Now this is ready for us to put on our card. So we're going to go ahead and make sure that that is how we want it. Because once we glue it all down, we can't adjust. Okay, and that looks about right. So let's go ahead and put some liquid glue on there. My glue bottle's about at its end here, and I like these kind for the... Oh, wait a minute. Before we go any further, let's go ahead and pull this off, because I don't want to pull it off when the glue's all on there. Get sticky fingers. But this might as well act as a second point of adhesion. Okay, so come on. Oh, there we go. All right. So we'll add this to our card front. And even with the tear and tape there, this will go ahead and slide. Because I put plenty of glue. Just glue that down. Yeah, too much glue in some spots there. Okay, so we've got that. Now, I like to take my bone folder and just give that a good press. Okay, now we're ready to add this. And we're going to do this with regular adhesive. And I'm going to add a little bit of liquid glue so I can slide that into place. And because we're putting it on embossing. So then we're just going to put this down here like that. Give that a good press. Press it all down. And finally, we're going to take this ribbon and we're going to cut it in half. And we're going to have this. This is cut lengthwise. Okay. And then I'm going to make a bow. Did I twist that? Nope, I did not. Yes, I did. I've got my ribbon twisted. It doesn't make a nice, pretty bow if you twist your ribbon. So we've got to make sure those are all nice and flat. Okay, and then we'll just give that a quick little knot up. Add some glue dots. Oh man, you guys, I've taken forever on this card. Wow. Then we're going to add this right here, like so. Trim that off. And because I did not want to detract from the scene, I'm not putting a sentiment on the front. So we're going to take the inside of our card, and I've stamped the fern leaf from the Fern and Flora in Peaceful Pine, and then I took my blending brush and colored it in. Took another one of those pieces from the Fern and Flora die cuts. To a Marvelous Person on Their Birthday is from the Sending Salutations. And we're just going to add this to the inside and call this done. Okay, and there's another one of those little mushrooms with the crumb cake and the designer series paper. Okay, and so there is our first project. Sorry that took so long, but I think it was worth it. Okay, so there, oh, we forgot to put our dewdrops on. We must do that. It's a good thing I set them up in front of my face. Okay, so let's take some little dewdrops. Put one down here. I'm going to put a small one and another one. And I'm just using the clear one so that it really does look like a dewdrop. Okay, come on, get off. And there we go. Okay. I hope you like that. Oh, thanks, Lynette. Appreciate that. I'm so glad you like that. Those ferns and the sweet bugs were screaming to be used together. So there we go. Now, if you still want to stick with me, I've got a second card. Hopefully this one will go faster. We're going to make a graduation card. Again, I've done most of the die cutting. So we're going to bring out our pieces. You get another sneak peek here. I've got some gold foil, and this embossing folder is called Swirls of Magic Embossing Folder. This is coming in the July online exclusives. It's in the Halloween suite. Stampin' Up! Has informed us that in the July online exclusives will have the bulk of the Halloween. The lion's share is exactly what they said of the Halloween stuff, and it has quite a bit of Christmas stuff, so I don't anticipate that there will be a ton in the catalog that will come in September. Okay, so we're just going to take this piece and we're going to add this right on here, and I'm going to try I'm not going to mess with that fine tip, or that the fine tip doesn't work great on these detailed pieces because it gets stuck in the little nooks and crannies. Okay, and you want to make good and sure that you stay to the inside of this so that it doesn't get on your foil, because once you get your glue on your foil, it's hard to get off. Stamp and Mist, a little bit of Stamp and Mist on a cloth is supposed to help you, but I prefer not to have to go that route. Okay, so there we go. And again, I'm going to take my bone folder. Okay, now let's get some stamping done. And for this one, we're using Balloon Festoon. Okay. And then I'm actually pulling in a retired stamp set for the graduation cap. I'm using Seasonal Celebrations. You can look through your stash and see what you have. One of the sentiments, Happy Graduation, comes from Scalloped Wishes. And that's it. Okay, so let's go ahead. Let's bring in, I've got some balloons. I couldn't decide how I was going to do this exactly. So I'm thinking I'm going to do red, white, and black. But I wasn't quite sure how I was going to get my black stamped. But it's okay. We're gonna bring this, And from Balloon Festoon, we're going to take the stars. And we're going to get some scrap paper here, which I had sitting here a minute ago, plenty of, and now I don't know what I did with it. Okay, well, that's crazy. I had 3 pieces sitting here, and now I can't find them. It's crazy. Okay, so we're going to do this and this. So we're going to start with real red ink for this one. Let me set aside these ink pads that I don't need. Okay, we're going to use some real red ink. And we're going to take the stars from Balloon Festoon. And I'm going to rotate my balloon and rotate my stamp. And I'm going to fill up my balloon. Okay. Then I'm going to clean my stamp real quick. And dry it off on my hand with my chamois. Okay, and then I discovered that basic beige stamped off looks a lot like white. So we're going to stamp off and stamp on our white balloon. It's going to barely show, but it will still give us the effect we're looking for. Okay, so we've got that. And then I'm going to leave the black one blank. Okay, so in addition to this piece, I cut a piece 4-inch strip by 3/4, and this is for the inside of our card. I pre-stamped and hand fussy cut in real red the grad hat from Seasonal Celebrations. Then I did some embossing with white embossing powder, and I stamped on black in Versamark and then used the embossing powder to do out the tassel. And then I took my real red Stampin' Blend and I just drew some lines to make it look like a red and white tassel. And then when I cut this, I cut it so that these will move freely and really look like a tassel. So I used a part of my adhesive sheet on this to make this easier on myself. And I'm just going to put this right here. And now I don't have to fuss with that because that is ready to go. Okay, so we've got that. And what I wanted to show you was I also took from the Alphabet a la Mode, which is a retired die set. I took some black cardstock and I cut out 2026, and that's where that adhesive sheet, and this is where I put that little tassel. Okay, so that's going to give me all that. And then for my sentiments, I've stamped on black. I knew the other one was going to take a while, so I tried to do a bunch of this ahead of time. I stamped on black. You did it. These are all from Balloon Festoon. Where did that? Right here. Okay, so you've got You Did It. And we've got Hip Hip Hooray, but I cut those apart. And then the Happy Graduation is from Scalloped Wishes. Okay, so let's go ahead and start putting this together. Boop, boop. Okay, got that. And we need our card base. And we're going to put our balloons like so. And then we'll do this. So let's go ahead and put this down. And normally I would use the liquid glue, but because I'm putting it on foil, I'm going to use both. Because I don't want the liquid glue on the foil to ooze out, so I'm going to use both. The liquid glue will help ensure that it sticks, and the seal will ensure that I don't ooze out and end up with a sticky, unsightly mess. Okay, because then I can just put a little bit here and there, and then between the two adhesives we're going to be good. Okay, and this one actually has a little bit of adhesive sheet, so we're going to utilize that too. And you might ask why I'm not popping this up, and the reason is because I'm popping up sentiments. Okay, so we've got that, and we're going to do this like this. Okay, then we're going to take our graduation cap, and we're going to get some dimensionals and cut some edges here. And then we'll cut us another piece. I'm just going to use the edges because that's where we're at. We don't waste. Use them all. Okay, so we're going to put our little graduation cap right here, making sure that we don't go off the edge. So we're going to move that just a tiny bit over, like so, because I don't want it to go off the edge. I want it to fit into the envelope. And then now I'm going to, I think I'm going to put the Happy Graduation up here. I didn't do that on my original one. I put Happy Graduation on the inside, but this time I'm going to do this. And then we'll get a little bit more edge piece here. Stick that right there. Add this. And we're going to put that right here. And then we're going to do the hip hip hooray. And we'll put that down here. So let's get, for this one I'm going to use these because they're a little bit, I can cut this edge and really make that however thick I want it. For the hip hip hooray. And hopefully I judged that correctly, and I did. Okay, good. So we've got hip hip hooray. And so we're going to put this right there like so. And because I did the black with the white, then the black background will dye into the background and let the sentiment be the focus. Okay, now I'm going to take some minis. I'm going to see if this is going to fit here. Nope. All right, we can cut a shorter piece. That's what I'm going to do right there. Just cut something like that. I love these edges for stuff like this, because then I could just cut them to the width I need them. And there we go. Okay. Now the hooray will be fully supported with dimensionals. Okay, we'll just put this down here like so. And for the rest of the front of our card, we're going to take, I've got some of the gold striped mesh ribbon. This just came back into stock. It's been out for quite some time. Let me put the cap on that so it doesn't dry out. And I've taken a piece of this and I've cut it in half mostly. Okay, so I wanted to show you how I do this. I just take my scissors. This is about 16 inches of ribbon. And I'm just cutting right up the center gold strip there. And now I've got two pieces, okay? So I'm going to use one of these pieces for a bow. So let's get that. I like to put the gold at the top. And then we'll tie that up. Spread out those double bows. I like to do that before I take it off of the peg. Okay. Then we'll bring that in, get another glue dot. And actually with this ribbon, I'm going to use two. So we're going to get one and another one kind of beside it. Grab those tweezers, press everything together. I'm going to put this one down here on the black, like that. Trim this off. And then with the other half, I'm going to take this and I'm going to slide it underneath the balloon. Neck. And then I'm just going to tie this into a knot. Okay, get back underneath there. This is the tricky part, keeping it underneath there while you're tying. Come on. Get under there. Okay, I'm going to take my tweezers there and lock that out so it can't come back out. And then when I tie, I'm good to go. Okay? And then we'll just give this a trim. And our card front is just about done. Okay. So there are some black stickers that you can purchase in the online store currently. But I had these on hand, so I'm going to use them. And I'm going to take some of the white ones. I'm going to take a large star and I'm going to stick it there. And then I'm going to take one of the black stars and I'm going to put it here. And then I'm going to take another white star and put it here. Okay, And there is the front of our card. And of course, you can make these for whatever colors you need. Now, for the inside, hopefully I grabbed an inside piece. Nope, I didn't. Hang on. Gosh golly. And I ran out of them too, so I gotta cut one. Well, I guess you get to see how I cut for the insides of my cards. So I take a 8.5 piece basic white. I cut it at 4 7/8. And then I cut these pieces at 3 5/8, and I'll get 3 of them. With that much of a scrap. And then I'll take this longer piece and I'll cut this at 4 7/8. And this trimmer kind of gets stuck right there. And then I've got this piece left to use for stamping or whatever. So there's my inside pieces. Now I got 5 out of 1 sheet. So for this one now, we're going to take the words "you did it." And actually, because I already did it this way, I'm going to go ahead and use this and stamp those in black. Okay. And I'm going to add this to the inside of my card. And that will just make it look extra special here. So let's just put that down. Make sure it's all nice and straight. There we go. Okay, and then I'm going to take this piece and I'm going to seal the ends. And then I'm going to put just a little bit of liquid glue in here just to ensure, just for a little bit of extra insurance in the center. We're going to add this here. And yes, my piece is a little bit too long. Okay, so we'll do that. Give this a trim. And finally, if you want to, I've taken the Alphabet a la mode dies. Any dies that you have that have numbers. And I cut them out of basic black with adhesive sheet. And then I laid my numbers down on my glass mat individually, lined them all up, and then took a piece of tape to ensure that they all stay where I want them to. And then I'll just take and lift my adhesive sheet off of each number. Just because this was the easiest way, I thought to do this. And keep from getting my fingers completely gluey. Just get my little take your pick right. Come on. Quit being stubborn. There we go. It's lifting. There we go. Oh. Now I got another piece here. That's okay. That piece will come off even easier now. Oh man, really? Lay back down. I didn't realize this was one that was cut in so many places. Okay, there we go. Now let's make sure that's where I want it. Okay, and then I'm just going to lay this down here like this. I'm not very happy with that 6, it moved. It moved on me. Okay, so we'll take those 3 off. And then I'll lay this one down. And it'll all be good. And now they're all lined up the way I want them to be, and it wasn't such a pain in the patootie. And with the adhesive sheets, it's better if you take and just give them a good press once you're happy. There we go. There's the inside of our card. Add that. Okay. There you have it. Here's the first one that I did. I did them in 2 colorways for 2 different schools. And then on the envelope, I just took and stamped the stars. Again, for the red, white, and black, I used the basic beige stamped off. And for this one, I used the green, yellow, and blue. All right, everybody, that's what I have for you tonight. Thanks for sticking with me. Sorry that took extra long. But there you have it. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and see what I've missed. And I'm going to refresh this because it does look now like it stopped auto-populating. So let's see. There we go. All right. Thanks, everybody. I will be back here on Thursday night with another live, as far as I know. So I'll see you at 7 p.m. on YouTube. And if you can't make that, I'll be back here next Tuesday night at 7. Thanks so much. Good night. Hey, Marilyn. Hello.